I've been lucky enough to be driving this Shelby for the last week, and I gotta tell you, if you get the chance to get behind the wheel of one of these, I absolutely suggest it. The engine, the exhaust note, the brake suspension, all absolutely amazing. There is one small part though I feel that Ford missed the mark on, and that is the lack of fog lights. Today we're gonna show you how to install a factory looking fog light on your Shelby. These custom marker lights from Shelby Performance products are designed to look like the 2018s, and that they have the marker light and a fog light built into them. Now, we've showed you how to install these on your 15 through 17 to add additional fog lights. They're a great way to add fogs to your Shelby GT350 or 350R as well. These marker lights will be direct replacements for the factory marker lights, but feature a high intensity LED fog light. And what we've done here is team up with a Starkey harness and an original Ford switch to give you everything you need to add fog lights to your Shelby. Like I mentioned, these are going to be direct replacements for the factory marker lights on your Shelby GT350 or 350R as well. The way it's going to work is this headlight switch will replace the factory switch and even use the factory wiring. You simply tap one additional wire in, which then feeds this harness, which has its own power and ground to feed the fog lights. For this installation, you'll need a lift or a jack and jack stands, 1/4-inch ratchet, 7mm deep socket, 10mm socket, 8mm wrench, clip removal tool, plastic pry bar, and a pair of needle nose pliers. Now there's two different ways to attack this installation. One way, you can actually pull the wheels off, pull the wheel well liners out, remove the oil coolers, and go in through the wheel well. In my opinion though, since we're running wires, it's easier just to remove the entire front bumper, give us a lot more room to work. So we're gonna start by removing these bolts in the engine bay. Once you have those screws off, there's two more underneath this weather strip. Now we're moving down to the wheel well area. Here you can either turn the wheel all the way or remove it, and we're going to remove these 4 push pin clips. We're now down in the wheel well area, and what we have to do is basically remove all these push pins to remove the splash shield itself. Now, if you're used to working on a Mustang GT, you can remove a couple of these and just kind of fold this out of the way. With the Shelby though, the wheel liner is actually unique and it's a lot stronger, so you have to remove a lot more clips if you got to get it out of the way. Now, the easiest way to damage the front bumper on your Shelby is to forget about this little screw right up in here. A lot of people forget about those when they pull the bumper off, and you're actually going to damage it. That'll make it actually not attach to the fender properly. So you want to make sure you get up in there and remove that, and then we can move on to the other side. Okay, with the splash shield off and the bumper disconnected, you can go right here and remove this plug. This actually is the plug for the factory marker lights. So with all the hardware removed in the wheel wells, now we're underneath the car. And we found there's 2 ways you can do it. You can take it apart at the front. I think it's easier to actually remove the entire belly pan with the bumper. Now we're ready to remove the bumper. Now, a helper will definitely help here, but what you want to do first, this will just pull off. But you kind of lift up on the clip, make it a little bit easier. The bumper off the car, now we can remove the marker light assemblies. We'll start by getting the plugs out of the way here. And we're going to remove the screws that hold the marker light in place. Now once you have all the screws out, you have to get the marker light out. Now this part is actually kind of tricky because this is basically attached to this whole piece down here. And this has basically these little tabs from the bumper that come through and make it difficult to remove. We found the easiest thing to do is remove the black clips underneath here, which will allow you to remove the trim from the front, and then you can actually get enough play in this that you can pull it out and remove the marker light. Once you have the trim off the front, now we can remove these 3 screws. We're ready to install our new marker light. Before we do that though, you gotta steal the bulb housing from this. Through the housing and the bulb, put it in here to seal it. And we'll start by reinstalling the screws that hold it to the bracket. Right now we're going to reinstall all the screws that we removed, starting with the ones that hold the light in place. Don't forget to plug the harnesses in once everything's assembled. This one's what's actually going to power our marker lights. You can plug this in as well, even though it's not going to do anything. Keep the harness clean. And this will be a connection for our fog lights, and now we're going to work on the fog light wiring. With the fog lights mounted, we're ready to install our wiring harness. Now the harness is going to start over here at the fuse box. Then it's going to go down to the passenger side fog light, over to the driver's side fog light, and the last wire is going to go into the interior to the headlight switch. Now, since we're going to be doing wiring, the first step is to pull these 3 clips off, pull the cover off, and disconnect our battery. Connections we're going to make in the fuse box, we're going to be connecting to the factory power wire going to the fuse box, and then to one of the fuses using the harness that's supplied. The orange wire is first, it's going to be connected right here. Now, this is the diagram for your fuses located on the lid of the fuse box itself. Now what we want is fuse 66. With the second one up here, this 5 amp fuse, you're going to remove that neck. The kit includes this fuse with a wire tap. We're going to install that in its place. We're going to grab the red wire, we're going to fish it over, and install it on that wire tap. And the last step with the wiring at this part is to put this ground right here. These are the 2 connectors for the fog lights. What we're going to do now is fish this down to the passenger side fog light and then across for the driver's side. So now that we have the wire fished for the headlight switch, we have to get it into the interior. What we're going to do is use this little plug right here. We've actually used this before for airlines on our airlift kit, so I know this goes right into the interior. It's a perfect place to fish this wire. Okay, the wire is run and everything hidden and cleaned up. Now we can reinstall the front bumper cover. I'll reinstall the original hardware. Forget the small screws underneath the weather stripping. Now we're back underneath, we'll reinstall the original hardware. Start with this Christmas tree clip. First thing we're going to install is this screw right up in here. Remember, this is the one that connects the fender to the bumper cover. Make sure this is lined up properly, and then reinstall it. Before we install the splash shield, make sure you plug everything in. We're going to start with the main harness, which goes over here. And then our fog light harness. And now we can reinstall our wheel liner. Putting it back together, remember the 2 larger ones are going to go right here. Every other one takes the small ones. Okay, with everything on front done now, we're back in the interior with our wire here that we have to fish up to our headlight switch and replace the switch with one that has a fog light on it. First thing you do is remove this panel here. You usually can get a good grip on it, and it'll just pop off. The panel out of the way, we're gonna remove this lower screw right here. With the screw out, we're gonna carefully now remove the headlight switch panel. And unplug the headlight switch. Remove the headlight switch. There's 4 spring clips. Basically what you're gonna do is kind of push this clips in and push the switch out from the front. Now, we're ready to install our headlight switch. Before we get to that, I do want to point out something here. Now, this is the new Ford headlight switch with the fog light button. Now, you're gonna notice if you look carefully, this has a chrome trim ring where the Shelby has all of the dark chrome. Now, if you're really careful though, you can actually pull this ring off and swap them to make a perfect match, and we're gonna show you how. What you're gonna do is go down here to the bottom of the bezel. Just put your nail underneath it just to pick it up just enough. Grab a small screwdriver, and you can sort of work your way carefully around, and it'll pop off. Grab your new switch, line it up, press it in until it locks in place. Once you have the green wire fished up to the headlight switch, it's going to go into pin location 14. Now, there are numbers on here. They're on the bottom. They're kind of hard to read, but you can basically go between the 2 purple connectors on the opposite side of the push pin that connects it. And to make this slide in, you got to pull this white lock off first using a small screwdriver or pick. You're going to match up the orientation of the new pin with the original pins and then slide it in. You actually feel it clip in place, and you can reinstall the cap. We're ready to plug into our headlight switch. Now we can plug back into our new headlight switch. We'll connect our battery now, and we'll test everything out. All right, now that everything's good, carefully reinstall the panel with the headlight switch, and then reinstall the screw we removed earlier, and then reinstall the lower trim panel. Double check everything works properly and your installation's finished. Now, since the fog lights are on the smaller side, we're sure you're wondering about the light output. They work great in the 18 and they work awesome on the Shelby as well. Now, here's with just the marker lights on. Here's the addition of the fog lights. See a nice low pattern on the road right where you want it to be. Now, here it is with the headlights added. And you see when you take them away, you can really see a difference. Like I mentioned before, I really feel that Ford sort of missed the mark with the Shelby being a driver's car, not having a good set of fog lights. Now, these Shelby Performance fog lights with our harness and switch look just like a factory fog light on the 18, require no permanent modifications, and best of all, it's a Shelby part going on to the Shelby. There's no cutting, no splicing. Installation will take you 3 to 4 hours, be back on the road in no time.